ITV, certainly the best. ITV, certainly the best.
ITV, certainly the best.
It is another wonderful time on television on your program African Discourse on Independent TV. Good afternoon and you're welcome to the program. My name is Evan Sunokuge. You're welcome to the show. Today on the program African Discourse, we are going to be looking at the complexity of Africa's leadership. Of course, when we talk about the complexity of Africa's leadership, we readily ask the question, how come, despite the very viral nature of our democracy in the continent, and of course, despite the very varied nature of our leadership, how come that we still have a very old, people in the saddle of leadership in the continent? That's what we're going to be talking about today, basically, on the program. Well, the information we are following to that effect is that Africa's leadership is defined by navigating intense, systematic complexity where intertwined economic, political and social challenges such as debt, infrastructure gaps and patronage networks creates feedback loops that make traditional linear leadership approaches ineffectively. And of course, we understand that this environment requires adopting a wicked problem landscape, bridging massive generation gaps between aging leaders and the young population. Just like what I said a while ago, that it is only in Africa that you see the oldest president, the likes of the Paul Biya, even in their 90-something years of age, they are still the presidents of a nation in an African, in Africa. And of course, it is only in Africa that you see young people, even when they know that they have the strength and they have what it takes to venture into leadership, they still want to support the very old leaders that we have. So the big question that we're asking is what is really responsible for all this? Well, we're going to be looking at that along some key issues that borders on systematic interconnectedness, and of course the one that has to do with structural deficit, then generational disconnect, that has to do with there seems to be a generational disconnect between the very old and of course the very young. In other words, how come the young believe so much in the very old when it comes to leadership? So we're going to be looking at all that as the program goes on today. Well, my name is Evan Sunokuge. Let's quickly take a short pause now. When we return, we should be able to bring our guest into the program this afternoon so that we fire on the discussion this afternoon. You're welcome to the program African Discourse. All right, thank you one more time. Still on the program African Discourse on Independent Television, and you're welcome one more time. Yes, our guest today on the program is Prince Israel Ireha, and he's the Executive Director of Connected Advocacy, a foremost organization that has to do with human rights and youth participation in civil activities in the country and even beyond Nigeria into the country of all the nations in the continent of Africa. Prince Israel, welcome to program African Discourse.
A very good afternoon to you. Good afternoon, my listeners.
Okay. All right. So just like what we said a while ago, that we are going to be looking at the complexity of Africa's leadership. Now, we'll talk about the complexity. We're looking at the very, you may want to say, peculiar nature of the kind of leadership that we have. I mean, it is only in Africa that you perhaps have the oldest presidents, as in world leadership, the likes of Paul Biya, the likes of Museveni, and so on and so forth. Now, one thing that stands, still very astonishing to lots of political analysts is how come that these old presidents are being voted for, by young people like you and I. I mean, if you look at the topic, for example, we're looking at the complexity of Africa's leadership, why old presidents still rule a young continent. So we're looking at the African continent. Not that necessarily it is young as a continent, but we're looking at the voting population that relates to your age, my age, the youngsters, and the youths voting in old president. Now, please tell us, what do you think is peculiar about the kind of leadership that we have in the continent that is responsible for this kind of analysis?
It's so sad to note that Africa still has the world's oldest leaders with over 30%, 30 years below 30 is over 60% that cut across our country. So, but today, this same gap of young people do not participate, they are now more in day-to-day runnings of policies that actually govern them, considering they mark the number of the populace called Africa currently. This is not far-fetched from weak institutions. When Africa continues to recycle old politicians without having to consider the role of young people in political participation, it often results to this kind of poor democratic process that we can see in Africa. It's sad to know that it's in Africa you hear all the bad things. Imagine the oldest man in government is from Africa. So while young population still falls the people who are the bulk of what these resources, these situations. But I want to put in point this way that Africa cannot move forward if we do not improve on our political system. From party primaries, young people have access to emerge as candidates. Even right now as local government chairman, can we verge of one young person that the party is putting forward? That, oh, this is vibrant, he has capacity, he has character, let him lead. Do we have such? No, but we say we rather want to choose from those your cronies who do not actually understand what political participation or democratic process are, but they're only there to dictate the tune of the taskmaster. So we are still operating the colonial era in proxy. That is why you can see from the length and breadth of Africa today, we still have the old fathers, grandfathers, great-grandfathers still in the affair of politics. And you cannot come with old syllabus to tackle new scenarios. Africa, we are now in the 21st century. Somebody that have been in power since 1976, where I've not even been born. How will it be current with the Gen Z stuff and their styles of governance? So that is why I'm not saying we don't need the experience, because they will tell you they have the experience. But we are also talking about the capacity, the strength, the trend. So there should be what we call a co-creation, where both the old and the new are co-creating in policy-driven. That's why I still subscribe to open government partnership. Let young people be given opportunity to also participate in governance. So whoever political parties listening to me this afternoon, there's need for you to begin to look at the crops of competent young persons to also be in affairs of power, not
Now,
yes sir boys,
yeah,
or hallelujah boys.
Yeah, Prince Reader, when you say that young people should be given the opportunity to participate in government,
Yes.
Little wonder whether there is actually a kind of a restriction. Because, you know, if you look at parliaments all across countries in Africa, I mean, when we talk about the way bills go through plenary sessions and all that, it seems that most parliaments in Africa, they run similar things, so to say. I mean, the other time in Nigeria, we saw you know, the coming of the YPP as a political party. Then, of course, that was as a result of the young, not too young to run, you know, bill that eventually became an act of the Nigerian Constitution. And that seems to have been replicated with other parliaments in the continent, in other nations of Africa. Now, even at this, we still have a situation whereby, just like what you are saying now, that youth should be given equal opportunities. So the question I'm asking, is there a restriction? Where was that, when was that restriction imposed? And who imposed it that says that as a youth you cannot run? I mean, otherwise it's open participation as far as I'm concerned. So what do you think is the problem?
Yes, there's a coded restriction in the sense that, let's take come back home, Nigeria for example. Can young persons afford the APC party candidate ticket as a president?
Must it be APC?
That is the trendy party.
Trendy party?
Or PDP. Because let's take scenario from the last 2023 elections. Look at the volume of amount they use in selling form. That has already restricted young persons from coming in. Then look at the party hierarchy. They tell you go and wait for your turn. Stay in the queue. It's not your turn yet. So when there is always the godfatherism inside the system of party primaries. Now we now have a political system that has consensus and majority. So when the consensus has spoken, it's like the party has also spoken. So most times the consensus are not in favor of young people because they actually, those who form the consensus, they are people who know their fellow friends, cronies, associates over time. President Mohamed Tinubu, with all due respect right now, we don't come and pick me where he knows somebody they once worked in Lagos 10, 15 years ago that I understood his capacity then. So these are kind of people he will shop for because these are his equal, these are his mate, these are his contemporary. So young people always feel left out in this because they can't can we trust this one? You'll be hearing things like, can we trust him?
Well, don't you also
do you think he will be able to bend to our own kind of style of governance? So all these things tends to becomes the dark side that strangle young persons participating in leadership.
But
so they say they restrict them now to SSA.
Yeah, but don't you also think that the question that we may be asking is whether this young population, whether they have what it takes? I mean, do they have what it takes? Do they have the experience, and do they have the capability, you know, to fit into leadership role?
Thank you very much. Before Nigeria was, before 1960, those who actually fought for the country called Nigeria, were they actually also 60 years and above? I'll throw the question back to you. Were they actually?
No, not necessarily.
They were not. They were young people. So if you don't give them a try, you don't give them an opportunity to put their capacity into work, how do you expect the best from them? So these guys have the energy. That's why I said earlier on, there is need for what? Co-creation initiative. Young people have the strength. The elders, they have experience over time. Why can't us merge the strength and the tech savvy that young people are bringing into it now, into governance?
But don't you think that, even with the analogy you're trying to draw, don't you think that the revolutionary nature that young Africans had then, I mean, if you look at the 60s, almost, let's take, for example, countries in West Africa. You have Nigeria, you have Ghana, you have Togo and all that, you have Niger. Now, these countries, their independence are very close. 1960, 1961, 1962 and all that. So it seems there was a revolution in leadership that cut across the West African countries then.
Okay.
So don't you think that there was probably a revolutionary hunger for leadership that the youths in Africa had then that you and I we don't have today?
Revolutionary leadership then was between African and the colonial masters.
Yeah.
So here now,
it was a hunger.
The leadership tussle right now is for Africa.
Yeah, it's still the same thing. It was the young Africans that had that hunger then. It was not the young colonial masters.
Okay, are you saying now that the young Africans right now, they don't have that hunger?
That's the question I'm asking.
They do have that hunger, but the strategy the elderlies use, they don't feel safe bringing these guys to the table, considering their level of strength, their capacity. If they understood governance the way they do, they would turn the system around. And this system is built on a structure that is like a farm. The taskmaster understands how these farms to be run, but if these young ones enter into the farm, I think they will overrun the structure. So this is what still makes African leaders still find it very difficult to open hands to allow young people to actually participate. But for capacity, for competence, for character, for strength, to drive policies to conclusion. That's why today we see how most of our policies, they lack implementation. Just to make them, to implement them still remains in shambles.
How would you really judge that character, that capacity, that strength? I mean, thank God that you are into advocacy, youth advocacy and all that. I mean, you are the executive director of Connected Advocacy. Now, from your experience, what do you make of the nonchalant disposition? The apathy that, I mean, next year is going to be a presidential election. And even with the ongoing continuous voters registration that is going now, you can tell the apathy that Nigerian youths are having towards the registration exercise. So it seems that there's a problem ab initio.
There's no problem. It is a structural challenge, considering the level of awareness. It is the information in the disposals of these young persons that they work with. So come tell us now, how many of those adverts or those enlightenment campaigns have you seen concerning voters registration at concern this woman? But let it get to 2 weeks to election, 3 months to elections. You will see, even your station will be, it will be rolled out. So the level, so they keep most of these informations in the dark. How many of these young persons, they don't even have light now to actually know what is happening. So how do you expect them now to know what is happening? So low awareness, all these are all strategies to keep Nigerians and Africans in the dark.
Are you really saying that the African youths are in the dark?
Energy poverty, over 60 million of Africans are without power, access to energy. So how do you expect them to make, match their own energy with them, their contemporaries in the West,
but who
have not even got this kind of
Prince, what would you say if you say that? I think that is worrisome because thank God we're talking about global technology is global.
Yes.
I mean, is it not this
same require energy to power it?
But even at that, I mean, is it not the same African youths, the same Nigerian youths that are taking the front burner, on the social media, almost on the global scene, everywhere and all that?
Because the space grants them that. There's what environment do to any young person. Put a Nigerian, or let me use an African, in an environment that is conducive and test his productivity and level of performance. Most persons that are not supporting crime these days, their level of frustration, do an analysis over them and find out the level of frustration they've got into just to come back to stay alive. So if there's an enabling environment for the young people, participating in governance will be seamless for them. So let's begin to, anyone in power, you have authority to be in power today, ask yourself, what have you been doing for young people? Not just create a position and say, go and become an SSA. And become an SSA, you think you have done a big deal. Have you given these young people the opportunity, the capacity to be in leadership position, to actually contribute into policy development? And you said they form 60%. Africa currently form 60% of the population of Africa are under 30. So you are telling me people under 30 do not even have access to make input into the policy that govern them. This is broad day robbery. And I think it should be jettisoned with all sense of humility, because we cannot remain like this and continue to say we are the Africa wants to leave the third world. Why will those from the global north not call us separated? Because first, that 60% is a volume of innovations, ideas, and productivity if we're used. The human resource that comes out from the 60% population that makes up African continent, do you know what it takes if it's properly utilized and put into governance, put into economic sector, the growth and development that Africa will develop from it? But give a politician power, the next thing you think is how to invest outside of the shores of Africa. Not only in Nigeria, you see all leaders, most of the African leaders, because of their myopic view of how they see their continent. Because they also saw it as farm. Some will be in Africa Monday to Friday. On Sunday, they will be in France or in Rome, cooling off. On Monday, they'll come back to farm. So as long as you keep seeing your continent as a farm, others will also see it as a farm too. So they all invest in it. It's a co-farmer reaping the harvest of Africa. So Africa has been in this kind of dilemma for a long time. And I think young people should begin to wake up. What did I have the message for young people? They should get themselves organized. They should stop doing the Hallelujah boys. I see young persons singing. I say, man, if you look at the talent of this young man, if he's given the same opportunity to profile input into leadership, Africans will begin to see a salient leadership, that people-centered leadership, not babuzo leadership. People-centered leadership, implementing policies and programs that are the wills and pains of the people. How many of them know how Africans are feeling pain when their children are born abroad, their wife stays abroad? So do they know this energy poverty issue I'm saying today that affects Africa? Over 60 million of us. We do not have access to energy. So how do you expect us to think when I'm thinking of how I will charge my phone? How will I have time to browse to understand what my contemporaries are doing over there?
Yeah, but I think we have to be careful with the way we say that now, because if you look at other avenues, other endeavors of life that the African youths are making, making great gains, strides.
One in hundreds.
Yeah, you cannot.
One in hundreds. That's survival of the fittest.
You cannot say 1 in 100. Remember,
specific.
Yeah.
Call a sector and call a young person that have tried. I will tell you the extra mile that he has gone to, considering is external factors as well.
That's what we're saying.
So
if you can channel that extra mile,
more African persons have external factors.
If you can channel those extra miles into the innovations that we bring on board.
Where is the space? Where there is a closed civic space where young people can live. I say you can't even charge phone. How will you now begin to think well? I'm telling you, I just go to the minute one. Or is it fuel? I can't even buy it to charge generator to listen to even news. How many persons have access to these things?
Now, don't you think that the African youths may have decided, for the reasons best known to them, to kind of, rather than put their attention into politics, as we're trying to say now, they'll rather give it to maybe technology as it relates to making progress on the social media and all that. Don't you think so?
Yes, they can't thrive in politics because they can't afford it. They can't fund it. Politics is expensive. I heard somebody was saying statistics the other day, if you want to become a governor in this country, you should have up to like 500 billion. Where will a young, dynamic school leaver access such a loan or such amount? Which bank is ready to bankroll him because he's a youth? So that is why most of the times they do not see reasons to participate in governance, because they felt it's not for them. Because the elites and the older generation has made it so cumbersome for them to come in. Because they know that these young people come in, bring in their ideas, bring in their capacity, bring in their strength. They will change the narrative of politicking. And this, I don't think the farmers, the owners of the farm and the farm controller wants that change.
All right, the program, in case if you just joined us, the program is African Discourse on your television, independent television. And our focus this afternoon is looking at the very complex nature of leadership in Africa. I mean, something that we readily see. I mean, despite the fact that Africa, as it were, has a very young population, we still see the likes of the Paul Bias, the likes of very old leaders as presidents in Africa. So the big question we're asking is, how come this is the situation? And hence you have what seems to be the sit-tighter syndrome of African leaders. Now we'll take a short break, and when we return on the other side of time, I'll just oblige you so that we peruse through some of the African presidents that we have, and their age, the likes of the Paul Biya and all that. You get to see their age and all that. Then, of course, you really understand what we're talking about this afternoon. We'll be right back. Please stay tuned. All right, thank you one more time. The program still African Discourse on Independent TV. I told you that we're going to oblige you so that you peruse through with me to see some of the leaders that we are talking about on the continent of Africa, and of course their ages. Well, on our list this afternoon, the very first one, like we said, we'll be talking about Paul Biya. That's the president of Cameroon. As it stands now, Paul Biya is 92 years of age, the oldest serving African president since 1982. So he's been there since 1982. And just last year that he won the presidential election, and for the eighth time, yeah. And he's going to he's going to culminate that. At the time, it's going to be 97 years. so you can imagine. So Paul Biya is the first person that we have on our list. Since I apologize, we cannot roll it on your screen, so you would have seen it with us as we're looking at all these African leaders this afternoon and their ages. Then the second one is Alassane Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire, and we understand that he's 83 years of age, president since 2010. That's 83 years of age, and he's been president of Cote d'Ivoire since 2010. Then we have Teodoro Obiang Nguema Mbasago of Equatorial Guinea. He's 83 years of age, and he's also been president since 1982. So another African head of state there that is an old man. Then we have Emerson Mnangagwa of Zimbabwe. He's 83 years of age, president since 2017, and that's the Zimbabwean president. Then we have Nangolo Umbaba of Namibia, who is also 83 years of age, and he's been the president of Namibia since 2024. So that's just about 2 years ago that he became president. But we're talking about his age now, 83 years of age, and he's been president since 2024. Then John Dramani Mahama, that's the Ghanaian president, who is 67 years of age since 2025. That's last year that he became the president. Then we have the likes of Yoweri Museveni, that's the almighty Yoweri Museveni of Uganda, who is 81 years of age, and he's been president of Uganda since 1986. Then also on our list this afternoon, we have Abdelmal Jadi Tobon of Algeria, and he's 79 years of age, president since 2019. Then Ismail Omar Guelleh of Djibouti, who is 77 years of age, and he's been president since 1999. Then Bola Ahmed Tinubu, of course, our own president here. And what we have here is that he's 73 years of age, and he's been president since 2023. I think we'll stop there, Origa. So let's look at our own president, President Ahmed Bola Tinubu. I think when you compare him to other presidents that we've seen, we'll say that somehow that he has age on his side. He is contesting again now. Well, as it stands now, we don't know whether, I mean, his party has not been nominated, but from all indications, he will contest the next year's election. So by then, he's going to be 73 years and all that. You want to say something about that?
Africa, the continent of old presidents, is an irony of itself. I wonder when we'll begin to see young persons in those lists actually contributing to governance in Africa. Baba Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I think, is still going to run, because right now poverty has been weaponized among the populace of the young people. who want to dare to want to.
Now let us take the issue of the young population outside this now, because leadership is all encompassing. I mean, it has to do with the young population, the middle age population, and of course the old population. Now, these presidents that we've seen now, I think the youngest of them all is about the one of Ghana, that's Dramani, who is about 67 years of age, is about the youngest of them all. No, that's going by the list that we saw here. You said?
I think Senegal is the youngest.
Okay, we've not seen the one of Senegal, but the list that we have here, it's the one of Ghana. That's John Dramani, who is 67 years of age. Now, the question I'm asking now, do you think that their age has anything to do, or is it that their age is responsible for the seeming underdevelopment that Africa seems to be going through as a continent? Because we're talking about leadership here. So
first, I think one, I would say their age is contributing. Secondly, the system is also contributing. One, their age is contributing because when they were emerging as young leaders, take our president, for example, he groomed young people that they all grew together. And if you understand the system today, everyone in his cabinet, people that are close to him, holding sensitive position in this country, they were all people that he knew when he was young. So if we also, because now you don't have full blueprint of these young people, so that's why I said there should be like a round table, a co-creation round table, or maybe a mentorship programs that will give opportunity for this older version to also see what younger versions could do.
Now, if you say this, Prince, what would you say about some advanced nations that Donald Trump is also in his 70s? I mean, what's his name now? Joe Biden, you know, that handed over to Donald Trump was also, Joe Biden was in his 80s. And it was about in his 80s when he was US president. So what do you think is in these developed nations that even if they have old presidents, old leaders, they seem to do well compared to African nations?
Yes, you can't bend it because they have what we call strong institutions. I made it earlier on that Africa is characterized with weak institutions, weak policies.
All right, so we'd rather just say that our problem seems to be bordered on strong institutions, not necessarily the age.
Yes, because it's, and who will now change these policies is still these old persons. And they are the ones that formulated the same old syllabus. That's why I said earlier on, you cannot be using old syllabus to treat current issues. It's obsolete already. But they can't throw that away because that is what they know. That is what they understood. The governance of 1970, 1960s, I don't think it's not the same issue we are confronting right now. So let us have systems that actually work, not systems that benefit those who are in. Because why we fail in Africa to change or to improve on our system, to have strong institutions, is that anyone that comes into power, the power automatically benefits them. So they never see any reason to make policies to ensure that our implementations work 100%. But you see policies around the government house, the presidential villas, they are working 100%. So, but those that concern this citizenry, they actually do not see the lights of the day. One complaint to the other. You see one project, 4 different administrations awarding one same project over and over again because of weak institutions. There's no proper check and balance. There's no proper watchdog. No citizens campaign actually demanding accountability, transparency for those in policy. Because the citizens also are hungry, the time for them to speak, you give them the 5K and they tell you, okay, let us allow him to try. We try. When you see one of the, let's allow him to try, give him more time. No, he has also whet his appetite. So if we continue to live in this kind of rentier system, we continue to remain like this, and it's not good for us for emergency, for policy. When we need these policies to work, they can no longer work because we have compromised in all the systems. So in the Western world, it's not so. Whether you are old, you are young, the policy checkmates you immediately. It's on autopilot. It has already been programmed to succeed. So if you want to fail the system automatically check you out. But here, once you enter and say, bro, this is how they do it, this is how the previous government do it and make money. Abi, you want to come and serve the people, you just tell you a loophole that you will fix stuff. So everyone in Africa, they come to fix in the farm, harvest as much as they can for their tenure. If you cannot bend the tenure, you keep harvesting. So this is the scenario of the African case.
Now, we'll say that there are things that are global. I mean, development, it's global in the sense that we have situations whereby initiatives and technological advancements breaks in the developed world, in the advanced world, and in no distance time is also replicated in Africa. Take, for example, the revolution of the social media. We talked about that a while ago. Yeah. I mean, it's global now. We cannot say it's everywhere. Yeah. You know, it's in Africa, it's in the US and all that. Now, my question is, if all these are global, we also want to reason that leadership is also global too. So why is it that even as all these nations are making advancements, that we don't copy from them, that their own leadership style does not influence us, in such a way that we begin to, most of our countries in Africa, we call them democratically, elected countries, the leadership and all that. Democracy is not even our own style of government. We copied it from this Western world. So how come the democracy that we have in the Western world does not directly influence the kind of democracy we have here?
That is why you said the word copy. So what you copy determines what you will implement. So you will now ask yourself, what is African leaders copying? Because those same Western world, if you go there, the first thing you will see on your map in the morning is clean air. The health status of the air they breathe in, the air quality, is determined. Somebody regulates that.
Let's make our discussions more concrete now.
Yes, I'm telling you.
Air does not have anything to do with...
There's air quality. The air you are breathing here and the one they breathe there, they are different.
But it doesn't have anything to do with policies
I'm
and programs.
telling you, because of here, there is mass pollution. There, it is regulated. So first, your map will tell you the air quality this morning is 100%. Somebody monitors up to your air quality to ensure that your health is well taken care of, that the air you breathe is valid air. So if they can take cognizance of just the air, somebody is not telling me this, I have witnessed it. So now tell me how a policy can be faulty. I don't tell you they are 100% correct, but at least the citizens feels the impact of being associated to that particular country. Their welfare is not common bread. You cannot increase bread and the citizen will tell you, they will ask question, why? Then they will now begin to find solutions to it. So this is where system actually puts the people first before profit. But this side in Africa, we put profit first before the people. The people does not even count in the table of decision. After all, we will need them after 4 years or after 5 years. So that is where the position of the people are. That's why you see them go to this Western country. They copy the tax system. Now, Nigeria has automated into the new tax regime because it was there. But they see these kind of things that will favor them in monetarize Africa, but they never see the one that concern citizens. Why you must put the citizens first. Those taxations are what they use to provide enabling environment for citizens. They provide education, provide systems, provide welfare. I remember those days when I was training some of those students that comes to Africa. They just want to study Africa. The country pays for them to come and study Africa. And they go back and they begin to, the thesis they will write from those Africans, that will form their next investment path to Africa. But here, we have the same young people. How are we using them? We use them as stocks. We use them for errand boys.
Or the young people make themselves available to
No, because the space, there is what we call closed civic space. When the space is closed, you can't do anything. Most decisions that governs African continent is done in the night. The people are not even there to make impute. In the day they just implement, this is how it's going to go. Nothing you can do, nothing you can remove.
Even with the amendments of the Constitution, those, the policies we are talking about.
If you want to talk about that, let's come back home. Do you want us to come back home?
Yes. Okay. Now the
reality will tells you that the new Constitutional Amendment Bill 2026 that just passed 2 or 3 weeks ago, what was the citizens demanding? Can you still remember?
Yeah, the citizens, they demanded for real-time transference of the electronic
mandatory. It was there. They demanded for mandatory
but the question,
real-time.
Oreka, the question that you ask, the citizens, do they really know what they are demanding for in the first place? I mean, you are demanding for we're all language students, for the sake of semantics now. You are demanding for real-time transmission of results. Real-time. Do you know what is real-time?
Real-time. As they happen.
That's
as they hot.
So, can we really get real-time transmission of results?
Yes.
Can we?
You can get it.
Really?
Where you copy those democracy for? Are they not getting real-time?
Are they doing real-time transmission of results?
Yes.
That's not.
They are real-time. Go and find out.
No. I've been opportune to monitor some of these elections. Take for example the last election, U.S. presidential election. You know, after the main election itself, you now see the electoral college election. But you see the way the results.
Electoral college, that is a different part of.
Yeah, but it's part of the electoral system.
Different part of electoral system. We are talking about the voting. Yeah, we don't use. Do we use electoral system here?
No.
So what we do here is the ballot board from the voting center. See, we are saying right now, let us know what we vote, what our vote is from that voting center. Don't tell us that, because most times transmission between voting center to collation center, the games are played. So we are saying real time is as I vote, I dey see am. Let it enter there. Don't tell us you will transport it, because before I've seen a scenario here. Let me put it to you now. I've seen a scenario here that the result that is coming from Oredo in the Edo State here took 2 days to come. The one from Auchi came 2 days before.
Yeah.
So are you not telling me that Oredo is far than Auchi? So this is why citizens were asking for real-time transmission of electricity.
Yeah, but it's because the reason why we are saying this now, because like what we said a while ago, that whatever happens, you know, African nations are so connected in such a way that what happens in Nigeria is a replica of what happens elsewhere. Because for African citizens now for Nigerian citizens now to begin to demand for real-time transmission of results, when you know that the word real-time, I mean, the legislators told you that, hey, you cannot get the word real-time because we are looking at technology and all that. But I think the bone of the issue, as it were then, the cause of the issue, as it were then, was that Nigerian citizens are yet to trust their leaders. And that is the biggest challenge that we have. So when do you think we can trust our leaders?
With this right now, has further broken the trust. And so many young people, remember, I think 2023 elections, that is what fall out of this real time.
Yeah.
For my own self, for our own institution, we did a survey of almost 425,000 young people to seek their concept. How do they feel?
From your organization?
Yes, as a consortium. So how did they feel about the outcome of the 2023 elections? About 78% of them feel discouraged and said the time wasted on that elections were not come by, that their expectations and hope were dashed. So that is why when the House of Rep...
Where did you do that?
I can share the survey with you. It's across the country, sir.
Across the country?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes. We call it the Youth Electoral Reform Project. You can go and Google it. The Youth Electoral Reform Project did a first survey that they want to hear the outcomes of 2023 election. How did young people feel? And the outcome comes, they feel very bad. They feel sad. They're very happy at the outcome of the election, because they said what they voted at the polling unit was different from what they saw at the collation center. So that is what emanates real time. Ask yourself, in December, before the House of Rep went on break, they passed the real time. Do you think they were not knowledgeable enough to pass that? Or they did not see that it was a direction towards advancing Nigerian democratic practice?
And the House of Rep, is not, their passage is not enough for us to have.
Yes, but they've seen the concerns of the people.
Yeah, but they've seen it.
So if they can say yes to that, why can't the House of Senate
yeah.
also reason with them in that direction? You would have been, Nigeria would have been setting a precedent for other African countries to take that same tune.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, they harmonized.
They harmonized, but the harmonized still bring us back to a clause.
Yeah. All right, enough of all this now. We just wanted to say one word, because all these things we have enumerated are big challenges, and there seems to be the bane of our development in the continent. I mean, why we have old leaders elsewhere, and those countries are making an advancement. We just talked about the age of the U.S. president. We've also seen the former U.S. president, Donald Trump. I mean, what's his name now? Biden. Joe Biden, an old president. Donald Trump, an old president, and some other leaders of the world too. Even Xi Jinping too is an old president, so to say. Is in his 70s or close to 70s or thereabouts. Now, this age, you don't see it in governance. Their governance is still top notch and all that. So what is your last take?
That is why I said my last take was co-creation. If you find out those guys, they have young people in their system that drives things. They have young governors, they have young people. So I'm not saying the old people, we should throw them away. We need their experience. But let's also bring the young people together. Let there be what? Co-creation initiative.
And co-participation.
And co-participation in co-design. When young people co-design policy, they will drive it. But when they are excluded from that policy and you want implementation, how? And these are the ones that form 60%, the bulk of it, who are supposed to be the driver. They are not carried along. So we are saying, carry these young people along. Bring the experience, we need it. Bring the strength, we need it for nation building. No nation can stand on its own with one leg. So if you are saying just the older ones, you are standing on one leg. So let us bring the two legs together and form a better continent called Africa that we can all boast of.
All right, Prince Israel Ereka, I want to say a very big thank you to you today for coming on the program African Discourse. Yes, we have seen it that we need to form a connect between the very old and of course the young in our continent. We've seen that old age does not have anything to do with leadership in these advanced countries, but here in Africa is a big issue. So what we are missing is a lack of connection between the old and the young, so that we can have very young policies. Even if we have old leaders, we can have virile policies and younger policies, so that we can drive our continent forward. Prince Ereka, thank you one more time.
Thank you.
All right, so we'll just draw the curtain on the program here today, African Discourse, and by the special grace of God, we should be able to come back next week Monday with another topic and of course another guest. My name is Evans Nokoge. Good afternoon.
ITV, certainly the best.
The Ekoko masquerades from Ute village, whose cult is connected with Obaewari and his mother, Elere, appear on this occasion to bless the Oba. Ekoko is a ritual masquerade that dances to please the guests and the Oba.
ITV, certainly the best.
Omonomba Nedo Ukwakwalopolo Ewai II, Oba of Benin, performing during the 2025 Ododua Festival. Ododua Festival is unique as it was organized in honor of Ioba Omoni Hwoyeme, Ioba Ewai II, as part of activities for her burial rites. The rich traditions and cultural heritage of the Benin Kingdom were showcased when His Royal Majesty Ewai II engaged the floor to perform during Uge Ododua in the palace ground in Benin City. In the dance performance, the Ogbelaka royal drummers supplied the needed impetus and rhythm for the dance. However, tributes are paid by the head of Benin deities to the monarch, who was the cynosure at the events. The event can best be imagined as the spiritual rejuvenation, stunned, spectaculars and guests at the colorful ceremony. 7 masquerades representing 7 spirits and deities conveyed different meaning in company with the head of the deities of Benin, with the Oba of Benin, who exhibited a grand cultural dexterity in his dance steps.
ITV, certainly the best.
ITV, certainly the best.
Hi, we expect that our vast viewership may have need for varying fitness concern, and in respect to these, we have made provisions for personal training sessions available for everyone, for we are poised to giving you a satisfactory one-on-one training. So, hire our service today and get a visible but lasting result. I am your host, Hegato Destiny. You can call me the Man of Steel.
ITV, certainly the best.
Top on the list of the initiates was the eldest son of the Esama of Benin and former governor of Edo State, Chief Lucky Nosakare Igbenedion. 11 of his siblings, namely Bright Ayamekwe Igbenedion, Honorable Charles Osenwige Igbenedion, Peter Osawari Igbenedion, Dr. Fred Osanwi Igbenedion, Barrister Mike Osarene Igbenedion, Efosa Douglas Igbenedion, Upoma Ernest Igbenedion, Osawe Igbenedion, Edosa Igbenedion, Dr. Daniel Omorige Igbenedion, Agbon Steve Igbenedion, as well as the Executive Director Operations, ITV and Radio, Chief Elder Ugbeide Nwonse. It was a vital aspect of Okada community's cultural heritage, which emphasized the significance of age, responsibility, and community service. Over 50 notable sons of Okada were also initiated, according to tradition and customs. Those initiated, dressed in white traditional attire, were made to undergo some rituals, while the Odionwe pronounces blessings on them and assisted them to take a seat with the elders.
ọba àtọpẹ. Ẹgbẹ̀júwà ọba àtọpẹ. Ẹgbẹ̀júwà ọba àtọpẹ yìí.
Yeah.